Yo, what's going on? This is the Too Tall Sports Podcast. Glad to have you in today. My interview is going to be with Michael Roll. He's actually a middle school buddy of mine, and he went on to play basketball at UCLA. So we talk about that, all the great players he played with in the mid-2000s, their back-to-back Final Four runs. We talk about that. And then he's been playing overseas all around Europe for the last 12, 13 years. We talk about his professional career in Europe and all the things he's done, all the teams he's been on. So I have a great interview coming up in a few minutes after my 2 cents segment with my buddy Michael Roll. So we'll talk to him in a minute. But first, I've been giving you a 2 cents in a little bit. So I got to, give you some latest reaction to things that are happening. I didn't get a chance to react to the Clayton Kershaw being pulled after his 7 innings of perfect pitching, perfect game performance. And he didn't get to finish that game because Dave Roberts pulled him. So I kind of want to give my thoughts on this. I've had a week to think about it, and I still pretty much feel the same way as I did right when I saw it happening. So for those that didn't know, last week, Clayton Kershaw, left-handed starting pitcher for the Dodgers, he was on track to throw a perfect game. He had finished 7 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, no anything, no errors. It was a perfect game in the making, and he had 80 pitches at that point, and Dave Roberts decided to pull him after the 7th inning. A lot of people were really upset with this, and I'm partially going to tell you why I'm upset, but I do understand it. It is April. So the side I get from Dave Roberts is apparently Kershaw knows his body. He's had some injuries. He's barely, picked up a ball, I think, since January, they were saying, and they got him in a simulated game against his own teammates the other day. So he hasn't exactly been game ready. Plus, it was a shortened spring training. I'm giving you all the reasons why people think it's okay that they pulled him out. I have an issue with this. To me, there have been a lot of no-hitters in the history of baseball, but there have only been 23 perfect games in the history of Major League Baseball. And Clayton Kershaw had a chance to throw the 24th. Baseball doesn't get enough excitement or viewership as it is. It's kind of a game that's not trending in the right direction compared to the behemoth that is the NFL, and the NBA continues to go up in ratings, and they've kind of overtaken baseball as the second favorite sport in America. So when you get a chance in baseball to see something cool or something historic that is very rare, like a perfect game, I selfishly want to see that. Give me a reason to tune in. I want the chance to see something great. So in April, you're going to take it away from us as an organization. And I like Dave Roberts. He's a nice guy. He seems like a great players manager. I have nothing against Dave Roberts, the person, of course, but I like him, but I still hate the decision. There's something inside of me that says, damn it, he's got 80 pitches. It's early in the year. Worry about the postseason and playoffs a little bit later. Maybe when we get past the All-Star break, July, August, September, then we can start dialing back if we have to. But man, you're telling me in April, you can't try to go for it. And if he gives up a hit, okay, take him out. Even if you walk somebody and you want to do a combined no-hitter, if you get one of those, fine, take him out. But to pull somebody during the middle of competition with a perfect game on the line, which is so hard to do, you take him out because it's precautionary for the rest of the next 6 months. In my opinion, why can't you skip a start, call somebody up that's, not, maybe you don't want to bring a first-time call up right now early, so somebody that's got options to get called up from the minors, and skip a start for Clayton Kershaw and get him back on track. Give him an extra day in the rotation, push his next start back. You can't give us a cool moment possibly for us to watch. I know it's selfish as fans to want that. And really, for the betterment of the team, I understand you want to keep Kershaw healthy. He's in his mid-30s now. He's had a lot of injuries the last few years. Couldn't pitch in the postseason last year because of injury. I totally get it with Kershaw. He's had a lot of injuries. I understand that. And you want to preserve him for a potential big-time playoff run, because we know how good the Dodgers are, and that offensive lineup is stacked. If the pitching can hold up, they have a real shot at a World Series. I just didn't like it. As a former pitcher myself, when you get a chance to do that, I don't want it. For me, I don't care what point in the season we're in. Don't take that away from me. Now, I know it's not just Dave Roberts. It's, organizations are making a lot of decisions. You got Mark Pryor, the pitching coach. You got Kershaw himself saying he was okay with it, whether he was being real or not. I still don't like it. Like, selfishly, let me give the fans a chance to see a perfect game. We're talking about a middle of the week game in Minnesota. Like, give me something, So I thought it would have been cool. Would it have hurt him? Would it have, caused him to get injured? I don't know. You know what? As fans don't care about that. Fans want to see something great. I think we should worry about the postseason later. So, in my opinion, I would have loved to have seen it. So, love to hear what you guys think about that. Man, I just would have loved to see the 24th perfect game in history. Why not? Aren't we playing for these great moments? I know we're playing to win, but I want to see great moments. So I think, unfortunately, it got taken away from us. But I like Dave Roberts. I get the decision for Kershaw's health. He's not Walker Buehler in his prime, throwing mid to upper 90s. It's a different era for Clayton Kershaw, and I get that. He's on a 1-year contract. He needs to preserve himself as well. There's a lot of things at play here. So the fan in me wanted to see it, but I understand why they pulled him. I did want to touch on some NBA playoffs here, specifically the Utah Jazz. Not that they're the most exciting team in the world or the biggest market in the world, but the Jazz are going to meet the Dallas Mavericks for Game 3 in Utah tonight. And I think the Jazz have hit a ceiling. I mean, maybe some of you have thought that in years past, but I'm looking at a Utah Jazz team with Donovan Mitchell as their superstar. You got Rudy Gobert, who's perennially up for Defensive Player of the Year. He had 17 rebounds the other night. Only problem is he only had 8 points in 37 minutes. And they really don't have a third. They got Bojan Bogdanovic, who had 25 the other night. Mitchell had 34. He did shoot 13 for 30, though. This team is heavily reliant on Donovan Mitchell. Jordan Clarkson chipped in with 21 off the bench. And Mike Conley went 0 for 7. And Mike Conley does this sometimes. Some of you may remember him in his Memphis days. Mike Conley's a nice player, but sometimes he disappears. And in big games, he often disappears, in my opinion. Nice player, okay? But Mike Conley is not a, frontline starting point guard in this league. He's a fringe all-star for many years. Obviously, he's not that anymore. But Quinn Snyder, I think, has taken the Utah Jazz as far as they can go. And they lost to a Luka Doncic-less, meaning he wasn't playing, Dallas Mavericks team. And they lost 110-104 on Tuesday night or Monday night. Couldn't believe it. So now the series is 1-1 going back to Utah. If they lose this first round series, and Luka might be coming back today, I'm not sure about the reports yet. He may come back Game 3, Game 4. But if Utah loses this first round series, I think you got to make some changes in that organization. I think Quinn Snyder should be up for another, job that's equal, if not better, too. And I think you either pick Gobert or you pick Donovan Mitchell. I don't think, obviously, it's not flowing well together with them. I know the big man has had a resurgence, especially if you think about it. All 3 MVP candidates, Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid, all centers, which is very odd. But they're the new age center, the multifaceted, guard-like skills, can shoot it, can put it on the floor, can obviously get to the basket and punish you down low. The new age center is now all 3 MVP candidates are centers, which is interesting. The big man is having a resurgence now, just in a different way. And you also saw, this is the first time in a while that a guard since Gary Payton, Marcus Smart, has won Defensive Player of the Year. So there's a shift in perimeter defense, which is much needed right now in a heavily 3-point shooting era that we're in. But the big man is making a comeback, which is kind of interesting. But Rudy Gobert is not Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. He does not have those type of new era skills for the big man in what is required today to be a big man in this league, which is guard skills with big man size and ability. I think Utah needs to either go with Donovan Mitchell all in and then get another superstar with him, or go with Gobert and try to find the next Donovan Mitchell. I'd rather go with option A there, the first one, because I don't see Rudy Gobert's impact enough in the playoffs. The Jazz are a great regular season team. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They're great at home. They have a great home court advantage. They're a solid NBA team, above average NBA team. But let's be real. They're not winning a championship, and they haven't really been close in the last 5 years. So nice team, but I think kind of like the Portland Trailblazers after a while, McCollum and Damian Lillard, you hit a wall. There's a ceiling here. So I think you have to make a move on these teams and try to change the direction. Go for it. The teams that usually go for it get rewarded. So I'd like to see the Jazz shake things up if they go out early again. So I don't usually talk about the Utah Jazz, but but I just think, oh man, it's not looking pretty for them right now. I think they've reached a ceiling. So other series, the Warriors are clearly back. Jordan Poole is the next Klay Thompson in line. Plus, you get Klay back, and you get Steph back healthy, and Draymond. They're shooting the lights out. Warriors are going to be tough to beat. I feel bad for Jokic and the Nuggets. No Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter Jr. He's pretty much doing it on his own, and he still could win the MVP this year. Jokic is that good for Denver. So anyway, lots of interesting storylines in the playoffs. Early, the first round is usually pretty blah. A lot of these 7-8 seeds get blown out. So, but the Brooklyn and Boston series could be interesting. So if KD and Kyrie put it together and KD plays better, I'm sure he will after game 1. So that Boston-Brooklyn series is probably the most intriguing. The rest of them, nothing too crazy. But I do look forward to the rest of the playoffs here. I love playoff NBA basketball. I know a lot of you probably do too. It's much more intense. You can feel it. The games slow down a little bit, and it's just better competition brings out the best in everybody. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the playoffs. But we'll stay on the basketball kick for my interview today, once again with my old buddy, Michael Roll, former UCLA player and current overseas pro in Turkey right now. So we will get his story in just a minute and look forward to that interview. And I will see you guys on the other side. What's going on? This is the Too Tall Sports Podcast. Happy to have you in today for another great episode. This is a fun one. Actually, one of my old friends from middle school. We used to play hoops together. He is Michael Roll, and he played at UCLA during the mid-2000s when they went to back-to-back Final Fours. He's been playing professionally overseas for 12 years now, so he's been all over the place: Spain, Italy, Israel, Turkey, you name it, Belgium. He's been there. So lots of great stories from Mike. And of course, his great, high school years where he was a stud in Southern California, and then his UCLA years with all the guys that he played with. We run through all the nostalgic names that were there during that era. So great episode with Michael Roll. You guys will definitely enjoy this one. As always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. You can check me out on TikTok. I'm blowing up there, Too Tall Sports Podcast. I make lots of fun videos on there. I repost them sometimes on my Instagram, but check out at Too Tall Sports Podcast. If you want to watch the interviews, I do post them on my YouTube page every Thursday morning, 4 a.m. Pacific time, sometimes 5 a.m., but usually it's early in the morning on Thursdays. You can check out the interviews there. On the audio side, it's Apple and Spotify. You can, if you haven't hit the 5-star review already, would love for you to do that. Scroll all the way down on the episodes page on Apple, hit the 5 stars. That would be great for the show exposure. And on Spotify, they are allowing ratings now. So if you haven't done that on Spotify yet, hit the 5-star rating. That would be very appreciated. We're also on Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. And with that, let's get to my fun interview with Michael Roll. All right, welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My next guest is an old friend of mine dating back to our middle school days, playing basketball on the blacktop. He played college ball at UCLA during the mid-2000s in the height of the UCLA basketball program in recent memory. He's been a pro overseas for a very long time, and he's currently in Turkey playing for, I'll try to get this right, Pinar Karşıyaka. He's playing over there right now, but happy to have him on. He's Michael Roll. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here and talk all sports.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you. I know it's been a long time. I've been wanting to do this forever with you and get your story out there because you've had such a cool basketball life. So now that, you're back in Turkey again, when people ask you about it at almost 35 years old and you're still playing at a high level overseas, what do you tell them when they ask you about it?
That I'm very fortunate. I've been able to see parts of the world that, I never imagined growing up in Orange County, California. And it's just been really a huge blessing in my life. And I've made lifelong friends because of it.
That's awesome, man. No, that's great. And you recently became a dad in the last few years. So what's it been like, having a kid, dealing with overseas stuff, traveling a lot? What's that all been like?
Stressful. Yeah. So my son, he'll be 2 in May. And for anybody that's a parent, they know that kids change their lives for the better, 100%. But traveling throughout the pandemic to Europe and back multiple times, and becoming a first-time dad, it's really thrown a lot of different wrenches in my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been awesome and been a huge learning curve.
Nice, man. Well, hey, congrats. At least you figure out a way to make it work when you have a kid. So that's pretty cool.
100%.
Yeah. I'll take it back to the beginning with you. So, you and I grew up near each other, but I never really had seen you play as a basketball player until we started playing NJB. And then once I saw you play, I was like, all right, this dude's a little bit further along than everybody else, natural ability, all that stuff. When did you get the sense that you were one of the better players at a younger age?
Throughout the neighborhood, just playing with my friends, I realized that I was always better than them. I don't say that boastfully, but
no,
I always was. And I think I just loved it more than them. And that's part of the reason why, I always wanted to just play basketball. Other times they wanted to, rollerblade, skateboard. And I just found myself shooting hoops, even if it was by myself. And my love for the game just started from a very young age. And I was always kind of a step ahead until I played with the older guys, and then I would try to catch up, and then I become step ahead again, and so on and so forth. So I kind of realized that from a young age, but it didn't really come to fruition about becoming even a college player or a professional until much later in my life.
Right. And you were kind of big, like the AAU circuit was kind of known when we were coming up, but not as much as it is now. What do you remember about starting to play AAU and travel club ball, all that stuff?
Man, it's some of the best memories of my life, for one. So I made, great friends at a young age for that. Like you said, AAU is not what it is now, but it definitely was a huge part to me getting to college. Basically, every weekend of my life, starting from middle school, is travel basketball. That's it. Playing in tournaments, whether it's in downtown LA, we're flying to Dallas, Tennessee, all these different places for games, just because I loved it. And at the time, and then not until high school did I realize that, maybe there was a future. I started to get letters in the mail, continuing on the weekends, and then, just got the blessing to end up at UCLA, and that's just how it went.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the story goes, you had originally signed with UC Santa Barbara, but when did UCLA and Ben Howland come into the picture? And obviously UCLA is a big brand, but what kind of drew you into Westwood once you started hearing from them?
Yeah, absolutely. I verbally committed to Santa Barbara, so I went through the whole recruiting process. My number one dream was Stanford. I went to the camp there. The coach at the time, Trent Johnson, came down to my high school to watch me, I think, 3 weeks in a row. And he lied to me. They told me, you're good enough. We love you as a basketball player. That is no problem for us, but you need to raise your SAT score by 60 points. And I said, okay, no problem. So I took tutoring, I took classes on how to improve. I ended up raising it by 150. I had a very good score. So as soon as I got my results, I was hyped. I'm like, okay, boom, Stanford, like, let's go. I'm in. I did what they said I had to do.
Yeah.
After that, they were like, oh, pump the brakes, and we gave your scholarship to somebody else. And after that, I was really upset for a while. So I continued with the process. I ended up committing to Santa Barbara, which for me was going to be awesome. I had a bunch of friends going to school there.
Yeah.
Orange County to Santa Barbara is not very far. My family can come watch. I'm going to get a great education and, get some sun and maybe some surf out of it as well.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when did Coach Howland come into the picture for you?
Yeah, that was wild. So I think it was the beginning of my senior year of high school. I never got even one letter from UCLA, no contact, no phone calls, anything like that, no back channels through my coaches. And I remember one evening I was just sitting at home. I get a phone call, and he was like, hey, this is Ben Howland. Is Michael there? And I was like, I thought it was my friend. I'm like, Drew, come on, stop messing around with me. Ha. I was like, excuse me? And I was like, oh, wait, maybe this is for real. So, we spoke, and he said, I want to offer you a scholarship to UCLA. We love your game. We'd love to have you come here. And immediately for me, it was yes, I'm in. But I talked to my dad, and my dad was like, well, they have really good players there. You probably never play. Maybe you shouldn't, just be all in right away. And I was kind of looked at him like, you got to be kidding me. Like, thanks for really believing in me for one. But
you're like, Dad, this is UCLA, man.
Yeah. I mean, at the time they were going down Ben Howland had just came in. They didn't have the best years before that. So
Right.
he was really trying to rebuild the program. And they had an amazing recruiting class before me. And then my class was very good as well. And from that, I decided to go there, and we had some huge success. So it turned out to be a great decision.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get to those UCLA teams in a second, but I did want to make sure people know, because I'm sure people don't get to talk about this enough. I saw you were first team All-State in high school, Orange County Register Player of the Year, LA Times All-Star, All CIF. You won the Southern Section Championship over El Toro. I remember that because I played against El Toro. Of course, they were in our league, not yours. And you guys got to face them. I think it was at the Honda Center, right? For the championship.
Honda Center. Yep.
And you got to play them. What do you remember about beating them in that championship game?
Yeah, I'll never forget it. It just gave me some chills, talking about it right now. It's an unbelievable time. My best friends were on the basketball team with me, so we still talk about it to this day. We played El Toro, like you said. They had Kelvin Kim. Kelvin and I grew up playing same AAU team our whole life, so he was my good friend, and he was actually my roommate my freshman year at UCLA. So I rib him every day about it, us beating them in the championship. But it was really the first time for Aliso Niguel, my high school, to go to that level. It was great to be a part of, and we came out in the game, and El Toro just took it to us immediately. It was almost like a shell shock for most of my team, and we calmed down after a little bit, and we had a pretty good game, and we ended up winning, and that was the first CIF title in school history.
That's pretty sweet, man. That's awesome. And what I remember, obviously, I know a lot of the guys you played with, but it was pretty much you, X, maybe, like your talent compared to El Toro's. They had big time guys. It was, you had to take over a lot of nights.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I led Orange County in scoring in that year. So, which is rare for a South County team. It's usually, Santa Margarita or Mater Dei. So it was different season, but you mentioned X, Xavier Gardner is my best friend. He played very well. He's a very good player. And Terrence Green, also my best friend. He played great. So our guard play was probably elite compared to other South County teams.
Right.
And so that's how we were able to win.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So you go from top of the world to now you're going into a freshman. Not that your dad was right, but you got a lot of dudes in front of you. So I wanted to read off some names from that 05-06 UCLA team just because I like the nostalgia of it. You got guys like Aaron Aflalo there, Cedric Bozeman, Jordan Farmar was there, Josh Shipp, Umba Amute was there, Darren Collison, who I've also played against in high school. Ryan Hollins is a big name people know. What was it like to be a part of that group? You're a freshman coming in with those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, taking me back is making me happy here. It was great, really. It was so much fun. It was very difficult for me. The whole lifestyle change, 6 o'clock weightlifting before class, then a 3-hour practice, middle of the day, dinner, tutoring, like that whole regiment was just a lifestyle shock for sure.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I mean, high level basketball, high level from as soon as I stepped on campus, for summer school before the year started. I improved immediately. I had to improve to be able to see the floor because those guys you just listed, unbelievable players, years-long NBA careers. And I just had to get better from day one. And luckily I was able to.
Did you feel like, maybe not when you got there, but as that year went on, that you could stick and make a name for yourself within that team?
I really didn't know what to believe at the beginning as far as how much I would play, if I would play, maybe I would need to redshirt. But from the beginning, my shooting really stood out. I wasn't nearly as athletic as those guys, so I had to play with my brain and really, use my shooting ability to be able to hit the floor.
Right.
And not many people thought I would play, but as a freshman, I was able to give really good minutes to a very good team as we made the Final Four. And my 3-point my 3-point shot was the weapon at the time for me. And so that's really kind of what I dedicated myself to and got better at.
Yeah, no, for sure. I watched as you guys did get to the Final Four and eventually the championship game, although you lost to Florida, who was a powerhouse team back then. But I believe, was that the year when you guys beat Adam Morrison and Gonzaga? Was that
yes.
Sweet 16?
So that comes up every March.
Yeah.
Gus Johnson is on the call. So
okay.
it's unbelievable. I get the chills watching it. I think we were down big, like 18 points maybe in the second half, and they were just really dominating. But we something lit a spark in us, and we were able to come back. It was up in the Bay Area, so my friends and my family drove up for the game, and it's just a really special memory. And getting to see it every March with that comeback is special.
Yeah, I was looking on your Twitter. I saw it. Maybe you like retweeted one of those. It's all. I mean, that's just a crazy memory in March Madness. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So
and
good.
then the following year, you guys go back to the Final Four and you lose to the Florida Gators again. That was Joakim Noah, obviously Al Horford. All those dudes. Were they just on another level talent wise? Obviously, they were NBA players. But what do you remember about losing to Florida back-to-back years?
It still hurts.
Yeah.
Those unbelievable teams. I mean, you could throw them in the conversation for some of the best college teams ever.
Yeah.
Starting Joakim Noah and Al Horford at the bigs. I mean, unbelievable. You have to double both. And how can you double both bigs? I mean, it's just not possible, especially with the other guys that they had on their team. Corey Brewer, unbelievable slasher in college, great NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
Torian Green was the point guard. He was great. And then Humphreys, the shooter, he was the one who kind of killed us because we were doubling the bigs and he just got open threes and that was it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Another big name you played with, and he's kind of top of mind right now, was Russell Westbrook, who played at UCLA. And you also played with Kevin Love. I mean, talk about, you probably play with some of the top NBA players in the league. But what do you remember about Russ in college when you played with him?
Russ came in. He was a late signee, and he was kind of like a puppy dog. He was very young for his grade. He was still filling out his body. He's very long, incredibly athletic, obviously. But he was really kind of figuring it out himself. So I know he didn't play as much his freshman year, but I think the best thing for him that ever happened was Darren Collison ended up getting hurt his sophomore season to start the year. So he started playing the point guard for us. And from then on, it was like, okay, he's a huge point guard. He's crazy athletic. If he can figure this out, that's going to be his future calling. And obviously, he's been one of the best point guards in the NBA since.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Probably the most athletic point guard maybe we've ever seen. I don't know. Yeah. But as far as maybe what's going on with him now, obviously not trying to get you in trouble, but like, what are your thoughts on, where he is now?
It's tough for me to see all this slander against him just because the Lakers right now as a team are not very good. So,
right.
Russell is a huge name, obviously been the best point guard in the league for a while, Mr. Triple-Double, those are all unbelievable stats. You can't do that every year.
Right.
So the fact that he's not putting up a triple-double every night, people are going to talk crazy on the internet. But if you look at his stats are still pretty good,
Yeah.
He's still putting up very good numbers in the NBA. It's just not what it was. And the Lakers as a team just not being what, everybody thought they were going to be. That's kind of the cherry on top for all that. And it's hard to see all that slander because he's been so great. But that's what happens when you play for the LA Lakers, I guess.
And when you get to be the scapegoat on a LeBron team, probably, if things don't go well.
Most of the games, Anthony Davis has been hurt. So if he's out there playing, that's a huge difference. And
right.
Maybe they don't lose nearly as many games, and then people aren't talking bad about him.
Exactly. Yes. I want to jump to your senior year of college. I know the team didn't do that well. I'm talking your fifth year, but you started every game and you shot 50% from the field. Almost, I think I saw 43% from three. Looked like career highs in most categories for you. Did you feel like finally you're getting the shine and the time that you need to show what you can do?
Yeah, absolutely. That year was really, in my mind, going into the season, it was more about me showcasing my talents a little bit more. Those early years, every single position, had one or two NBA players. So it wasn't like I was going to play 30 minutes or have these crazy stats. But that season, I was able to do a little bit more. Like you said, my numbers, I shot the ball incredibly well. So it really kind of led me to thinking that, okay, maybe there's an opportunity after this. I can play professionally. I didn't have any idea what was going to come next, but I knew that, I was playing well enough. And when that was kind of solidified with the first team All Pac-10 award, I was like, okay, for myself, I was really shocked. And I thought that I put the work in, and from that point on, you know, I knew it was going to be my job.
Yeah, definitely. Real quick, because I mentioned Kevin Love, I want to go back to this before we go to your pro stuff. As far as when you saw Kevin Love come to college, he was like a throwback, almost people like to say like a Bill Walton type or something like that. What do you remember when Kevin Love came in, like just the way he played, the rebounds, the outlets, all that stuff?
Mm-hmm. It was crazy. Him coming on his college visit there. Obviously, he was a highly touted kid coming into college, and he got to play with our team at the time. So I think he was, you know, a high school senior, and he's just a huge guy. You know, he's so tall. He weighed a lot at the time, but his presence down low in the post we didn't have anything like that. And, you know, guys are 4 or 5 years older than him, but he's just so dominant down low from day one. And unbelievable outlet passes. A lot of people made a big deal about that. So he had great connection with Russell on that. The outlet, just take it out quick, fire it nearly the whole way down the court, and Russell would get so many layups. But his skill was crazy. I'll never forget. We went up to Stanford to play. That was the Lopez twins.
Yeah.
And he outdueled them both together. Like just him versus them both. He had more points and rebounds than them combined. He fouled one of them out. It was just a master class, and you knew he was going to be special.
People forget he used to be like capable of a 30 rebound game. You know what I'm saying? Like he used to be that dude.
It's like he had like suction cups on his hand. As soon as it hit his hand, boom, it was his. Like nobody could take it from him. He was too big. He hit you with the elbows. You know, fundamentally disciplined. So it was unbelievable to watch.
He kind of reminds me of a little bit different than Jokic, but like an early Jokic back then.
No, for sure. You know, not the most lean cut up at the time in college. He was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
You know, kind of looks like Jokic, but the smarts are there, the passing ability in the post, the shooting touch, you know, the jump hook. He had all of it.
No, for sure. As far as I also want to mention, you also got to play with Drew Holiday. I wanted to mention that as well. I mean, the names, UCLA was a factory for a while, dude.
They really were. I mean, Southern California really is. And at the time, you know, we really had it going. So everybody came through there. And yeah, like you mentioned, Drew, I got to play with him one year, and you could see he was special as well.
Sure. Yeah. Last thing on your UCLA career, what was your most memorable game? Maybe, I don't know whether you were, you know, playing a lot or not playing a lot. What was your most memorable UCLA moment?
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I know you were there for a while and you guys had some success. Right. Maybe you personally as a player.
Yeah. Okay. Probably my game-winning shot at Cal. For me, that was special. Playing UCLA Cal is a huge rivalry just for the school. You know, people really get amped up about the UC system. So playing at Cal, I think it was Haas Pavilion, a scramble for the ball with like 2 or 3 seconds left. I don't even remember how I got it, but I got it around the free throw line, turnaround jumper, and I think we won by 1 or 2, and that was really, really special for me.
Nice. Okay, there you go. And not to mention anything nice about USC, but they have had some NBA dudes come through there. Are you surprised how many NBA players have come through USC?
No, because like I said, Southern California is such a great place for, you know, really good basketball. UCLA can only take so many scholarships.
Right.
So, you know, the next best thing for them is to stay in LA, and they get USC. You know, I don't want to say anything good about them, but
of course.
When I was in school, we were playing them. They had a really good team, a bunch of NBA players. So those were some great battles.
Yeah, was that what Nick Young, DeMar DeRozan, those guys?
Nick Young, Gabe Pruitt, DeMar DeRozan, OJ Mayo, Devon Jefferson, Taj Gibson, Nikola Vucevic. I mean, they had some really good players.
They had some dudes for sure. As far as the UCLA program right now under Mick Cronin, what do you think about, I guess, the way the program is moving with him now?
Definitely on the uptick. Obviously, they've had great success in the tournament these past couple of years. I've got to meet Mick, and he's, you know, seemed like a great guy, great basketball mind. Everybody speaks highly of the program. You know, we're sponsored by Jordan now, so that's a huge boost.
Yeah.
The facilities are unbelievable. They got a new weight room, practice facility. Poly was redone. So really, UCLA basketball is a fantastic place to play.
Yes, I believe that. So now let's go to your professional career. Did you think 2010 NBA draft, did you think maybe you could get drafted?
Going into the whole process, that was new to me. I didn't really think much of it, but I had like 10 workouts for teams and I crushed them all. I got to, do a bunch of one-on-ones. I had a one-on-one with Paul George for Danny Ainge in the Valley, and that went unbelievable. So I thought maybe there was a chance that word would get around. Maybe I could get a second round pick, stash in Europe for a little bit, whatever the case may
Yeah,
be. So it still hurt that I wasn't drafted, even though it wasn't the highest of hopes,
sure.
everybody's dream.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I played the summer league after that, and that was fun. But, once I figured out this whole European basketball thing, that was for me.
That was my next question. So, what do you remember about? There's this Turkish team, and you can say it for me. Bornova Belediye. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. So, how did obviously you never played overseas before? How do you go from you're playing summer league in the NBA to I'm going to go to Turkey now and play professionally?
Yeah. So this was just business at its finest. My agent works for Octagon. He called me just as I'm about to leave for Toronto to go up to the mini camp before summer league, and he's like, "Hey, this is the best situation we got. Here's the details of the contract. It's this team in Izmir, Turkey. You have 24 hours to decide." And so, we went over all the options. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm going up to Toronto right now. How does that work if I do well? What happens if they want me? Blah blah blah. So you have an NBA out clause in your contract,
Okay.
for I don't know 2 weeks, something like that. So I signed my contract before the summer league with Bornova here in Turkey, and didn't work out with Toronto, and so I went to Bornova. I got out here in August, shortly after graduation of college, and kind of played in Europe ever since.
That's pretty incredible. Was there a culture shock for you when you got there and the way they do things?
It's like you wouldn't believe. Okay, so me being from Orange County,
Yeah.
went to UCLA. This is like 65 miles in between. So I'm coming home on the weekends. I'm doing my laundry at my mom's house. Most of the time she's doing it for me. I don't have to cook too much. And then moving to Izmir, Turkey from Southern California, you can imagine the differences. I get off the plane, I go to use the restroom, and there's no toilets. It's just the holes in the ground. So I'm in a Muslim country. It's completely different, like just a shell shock. I have no idea what is happening. Like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I doing this? Was my first thought. Like, you got to be kidding me. I just flew this far to have this happen to my life. But most Americans really struggle for the first couple months when they move to Europe as far as basketball, and it was no different for me. It was definitely a hard adjustment, being away from friends, family, this being your full-time job, having practices twice a day, meetings all the time, and so it really took me some time to get used to it.
What about the talent level when you got over there? Even though the Europeans, they play a different style, but what did you notice about the talent level when you got over there?
Talent is very high. I mean, it was more so than my college teams. And, I thought, oh, I came from great UCLA teams. Like, this is going to be, just like practice, nothing all that crazy. But the talent is unbelievable. It's NBA level talent. It's just in Europe. These guys, they're not American. So this is the top to them, and they don't know any different. But from the first guy on the team to usually 12 to 15 guys, all of them are very good. So just continue to get better every day with that, just like I did my whole life, and it's been 12 years now.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So I saw you played in Spain, Belgium, Italy, Israel, now back in Turkey. How would you compare all these different leagues you've been in?
Yeah, every European league kind of has their own style. Spain is pretty much regarded as the best domestic league in Europe. It's been for a long time. Arguably after that is probably Turkey, second best. So they all have their unique style. Spain is, a really up and down, fast pace. I played in Italy, which is also pretty fast, but not quite as fast as Spain. And then Turkey, just high level teams. A lot of European teams. They have huge success over here, and really, really nice basketball.
Did you get to see, I'm sure you saw a few European guys that eventually became NBA players. Who did you see early on that eventually became a dude in the NBA?
Most notably, probably Luka Doncic.
Oh,
He played for Real Madrid. I think since he turned like 17 or 18. But they kind of gave him the keys right away. You know, he played a lot. He played point guard, and he was really good. He won I think it was the uprising star when he was like 17, and then the MVP of everybody. You know, at 18 or 19 years old, and you could just see his talents. You know, he's huge. He's a big body, but he controls the ball. He can really shoot, and you know, got to play him before he went to the NBA, and that was really fun.
did you have to guard him?
I guarded him a few times, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably 6'8", maybe 6'9", so some other guys primarily were on him, but definitely I guarded him on a few possessions.
Yeah. No, I bet that's pretty tough. You've won championships over there. You've played in all-star games. What are some of your favorite professional moments, you know, whether it's team-wise or personally, that stick out to you during your career over there?
Most notably, probably my championships in Israel for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Anybody that knows Israel knows that Maccabi is like the team in Israel. That's
Right.
what they follow. That's their religion. Every Thursday night is their European game, and they pack it out. So that was really special because the whole country is pretty much behind you, and they celebrate with you. And also, last year we won the midseason cup when I played for Olympia Milano. That was really special. We had a great time, great group of guys. It was fun, and after that, you know, Mr. Giorgio Armani got to celebrate with us, and that was special.
That's cool. I did see on your Twitter, Olympia Milano like shouts out. They're very active on Twitter. They shout you out a lot. You must have been a fan favorite there.
They are very active on social media, and I have great relations with them. Really, from the front office to the players. So we keep in touch, and it is very nice interactions with them still.
Yeah, for sure. Is it normal to go for most guys, or maybe for Americans, 1 year and done? You're at another place every single year. Is it weird to go back to the same place consecutive years?
So most contracts in Europe are 1 year. At the maximum, it's 2 year, but it's really they say 1+1. So after the first year, you know, there's the team option to pick up for the second year. Most guys sign 1 year, and then just depending on, you know, if the team has success, how you do, then, you know, you negotiate from there. But I've been fortunate to have multiple 2 year contracts, and it's been great.
That's awesome, man. I did see something interesting. I know we talked about it pre-show, but you became a naturalized citizen in Tunisia to play for their national team. So tell us how that all worked. And you got to play, I think it's called the Afro Basket. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm African American. I get to tell all my friends that, and if there's ever an icebreaker at a party, I say that, and it's unbelievable. This really ghost-colored skin from a kid from Orange County, California, is African. And that's great. But that's a really long story, which I was really lucky, very lucky to have this happen to me. I played with Salah Mejri, a Tunisian guy. I played with him in Belgium. And I played with him for 2 years, and I kept in touch with him while we were both in Spain. And then he moved to the NBA, played for the Dallas Mavericks for, I think, 4 years. And I stayed in Europe. But FIBA rules allow each country to nationalize one player from outside of their country. And I told Salah, he's like a rock star there, so he kind of makes everything happen. And I told him that, you know, I wanted to play for Tunisia because they're a very good African team. They vie for the Olympics. They've been a couple times. We got to play the World Cup together. We just recently won the Afro Basket last summer. So I've been all over the world with that team, and it's been really, really fun with those group of guys, and they're really cool.
Yeah, definitely. What's your maybe non-basketball favorite thing you've done in Europe, or favorite, you know, funny story maybe that you have over there? Anything that sticks out like life-wise over there?
Yeah, life-wise. If I'm in Turkey now, so I got to say this, but if you're ever in Turkey, you got to do the Turkish bath. You know, it's a real touristy thing, but that's something special. But getting to travel after the season, you know, because I'm already out here, I was able to go with my fiance at the time. You know, we went to Mykonos. I proposed there, so that was really cool. And just meeting friends, you know, kind of all over. If you ever get, you know, 2-3 days off, which is a rare thing, but if you get it, just travel and check out different cities.
Nice, man. That's really cool. And then we've kind of talked about this. It all came full circle. You're back in Turkey near where it all began. So when you think about that, you're 12, 13 years in, however long it's been. What's it like to be back in Turkey now where it all started?
When the coach here called me to come play for this team, immediately I thought like, this has got to be it, because this is where I started my European career, and maybe it's going to be where I finish my European career. I'm in Izmir, Turkey. The apartment that I lived in when I played for Bornova 12 years ago is a 2-minute walk from where I live right now. That team is not in the Turkish league anymore, but the team I'm with now, it's unbelievable to see how Izmir has changed in the 12 years difference. I'm really enjoying it, and it's a very nice city. So just kind of like storybook writing that this is where I would be 12 years later.
Yeah, definitely. Last couple things. I am curious about, how the basketball has changed a lot in the last 15 years as far as emphasis on shooting and all that stuff. And I'm just curious about what your workout regimen is and like your shooting drills, and how has your preparation evolved as you've gotten older and the game is kind of changing?
Yeah, the game definitely has changed. That's the Steph Curry effect.
Right.
A lot more 3-pointers. The NBA, is just really all about spreading out the whole court. One ball handler, a ball screen, and kind of keeping the corners filled, and maybe one more shooter out there. It hasn't fully translated to Europe. They're still on the attack the rim, dribble drive, pull-up jumpers. Not as much as the NBA, but it's definitely been a focus of mine these past couple of off seasons to improve my 3-point percentage and shoot different style of shots, whether it's coming off curls or deeper 3-pointers. But for the most part, my game kind of translates. It's European basketball is very unselfish. They like to make the right play, find the open man most of the time, even if a better shooter is guarded. So that I kind of just stuck with from the beginning, and it's translated well.
Nice. Okay. And then last thing, you did mention you're 12 years in. Do you, how much time left do you think you have in professional basketball?
Physically, I could probably do 2 more seasons, but there's a possibility that this is it, just because, moving the family over to Europe, it gets to be very difficult,
Sure.
Packing those bags, finding an apartment to live in, moving my son, time difference, jet lag for a baby is never easy.
Right.
And, it's very hard to miss the holidays, miss birthdays, countless weddings that I've missed, and all that stuff really adds up. So this might be it, but I'm open to seeing where it goes next year.
Yeah, man. I mean, why not? If you feel good and your body's holding up, I mean, why not play?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we grow up doing. I spend a lot of time taking care of it just for that opportunity to give one more season. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay. And if everybody wants to follow you, where can they find you on social media or follow your games, or how do they check you out?
Yes. Instagram, m.roll_. Twitter, I think, is mreezy20. That sounds weird now, but that was a long time ago.
I know.
Yeah, both are verified, so I can't change them. So that's why it's stuck like that.
That's pretty cool. You're verified, right? That's got to be pretty cool.
It's funny when people bring that up, because I don't know, it happened a while ago, and it, I don't know, it looks cooler than it is, I guess. Sure. But whatever.
Yeah, I got you. Well, Mike, it's great to have you on, man. I appreciate you giving us some time, and congrats on all your success and moving forward, and hopefully you can play as long as you can.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and great to hear from you.
My thanks to Michael Roll. Had a lot of fun with that one. Good to reconnect with somebody all the way back to my middle school days. So I've been watching that guy hoop for a long time. And he's still doing it in his mid-30s. So congrats to him on a great career. And thank you to him for joining me on the episode today. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And as always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. Check out the YouTube page, of course. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast, subscribe, review, leave a comment, like, share, all that stuff. That would be awesome. I drop episodes every Thursday morning, 4 a.m. Pacific time usually. and you can check and watch the interviews on YouTube if you'd like to. On the audio side, the most popular that I use are Apple and Spotify. So you can go ahead and check out Too Tall Sports Podcast on Apple and Spotify. If you haven't already, hit the 5-star review. That would be awesome. Just scroll down. It takes 2 seconds if you haven't done so, and hit the 5-star. Greatly appreciate that, and it would help out the show exposure. Also on Spotify, like I mentioned off the top, they are allowing ratings now. So if you could 5-star that thing on Spotify as well. So anywhere you get your podcast, just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. I appreciate you listening, and I'll see you next time for another great episode.